Kawasaki W650 or W800 Winterization Part 5 Wheels and Fenders. First of all, I wanted to say a few things about the bike in general. I think every time I work on this bike, um, I never cease to be amazed about the design. I mean, the design of this bike and of W800 as well is just so classic. It's so perfect. Every piece is just 1960s recreated, basically. And it's like, it's more than that. It is one of the most perfect designs, mechanical designs, and in general, like designs that I've seen on them, made. It's one of the few gems that we have in this world. And just looking at the wheel, looking at the design of the drum, it's just looking really, really good. The drum is, the black finish is just talks to you, right? It's 1960s design. It's so cool. It's just like, that's how a bike's wheel should look like. And it has to have a drum brake, right? I love drum brakes, by the way. I don't know why people, say bad things about them. They do fade. It's true. If you overdo it, if you brake all the time using the rear brake, it will fade. But you're not supposed to brake all the time with the rear brake. The rear brake is a helper. It's like a parking helper. Or just, it provides a little bit of a braking. You're not supposed to use it to the point where it starts fading on you. It means you're a bad rider. Anyway, this drum brake is just fine. It works great on this bike. This is not a light bike, by the way. It's like, what, 200 and something, 215 kilograms with fuel. So the drum brake, sometimes I find myself using the drum brakes a lot, actually, just because it's so effective. I find it just fine. Anyway, mostly like 70% of the time I use the front brake. Anyway, just a few words about the fenders and the wheels. Now look at that fender, look at that wheel. This is so classic, beautiful. When you do the winterization for any bike, not only for W650 or 800, I suggest you to check your bearings. Basically, take the wheel off and open it up, and just use your hand. For example, this is a drum brake, right? You just can actually remove it. Hold on. Yeah, just like that. That's the drum. That's the brake. We're not concerned with the brakes right now. It's a fine looking regular drum brake. We're focusing on this, on the essentially on the bearings here. So you kind of put your finger in. I use my pinky, but any finger would do, and then you kind of rotate it and make sure there's no kind of anything stuck there. You don't feel sand. You don't feel that it's dry. It just rotates smoothly. It should rotate smoothly. And then you poke it, back and forth. Make sure there is no movement. That means that the bearing is alive and well, right? There is also a seal here. Actually, it's not a seal. It's like a ring, right? and it's greased up because I went in a few months ago and I greased it. Okay, so it's all, you know, it's good. And then on the other side of the wheel, just a sec. Okay, the other side of the wheel, you can take this off. Now, this side has those pillows, right? These pillows, notice the other side of the bearing too. By the way, there is a bearing there too. And there's a bearing here too. And yeah, so make sure that those pillows, the rubber pillows, are in good condition. Now this, how bad condition looks like. You see they're deformed and they're 23 years old, so they need to be replaced. Actually, there is in the manual, there is actually like a specification for their width, so you can measure their width and their dimensions, and they say it's if it's within like 5 millimeters, it's out of the 5 millimeter range, then replace them. But just one look at them, like look at how deformed this is, right? One look at it and say, yeah, it's an old item and needs to be replaced. So yeah, keep an eye on those things. While they're here, they smooth out all kind of rough, you know, when you do the blip the throttle, it smooth out the transition of power to the wheel. So these are actually quite important. You want to keep them fresh, because these ones, they're hard, right? And they're kind of used up already. So anyway, just keep an eye on that. Let's check this bearing. Let's see. No problem. This bearing is alive and well. Now there's another bearing here, over there. Let's see here. How can we get there? Oh yeah, here. You take this off. I mean, I oiled it, so I know it's gonna be fine, but I'm just gonna show you. Bearing here too, and it's very, very good. It's alive and well. Okay, what do I see here? Clean, everything's fine. See how, by the way, just like 4 months ago or 3 months ago, I put new fresh grease here. Look at this. You know, only after 4 months, look, the grease from it was green. And now it's already black. Look at this. See? See that? Still kind of greenish, but anyway. Yeah, so keep, after every season, inspect these things, right? And you see a lot of black kind of looking grease, wipe it off and put fresh grease on. Things like that, right? So these are exposed to the weather. That's why they got a little bit dirty. Anyway, inspect the bearings in the rear wheel. Also, while you're at it, let me just wipe off my hand. While you're at it, might as well take a look at your brake and just make sure that you have some brakes. There's still some brakes. Like you look at the, you know, the height of the brake pad itself. You see that top corona there? That's the pad, the actual pad material, right? And you kind of measure it and make sure that it's within specification. I think there's quite a bit still left here, so I'm not worried. But yeah, anyway, inspect it, blow it off with compressed air as well. Inside there's lots of dust, again, away from your face. Don't need to really clean anything here. If you want to, you can use your brake parts cleaner to spray clean if it's really dirty, but make sure that you put special, if you do it with the brake parts cleaner, make sure that you grease these parts here with a special, it's called brake grease here. All these little parts that are moving, that that needs to be touched with grease. These ones, this pivot, maybe the in this part here as well. This is the cylinder sort of that actually opens up the pads away from each other and breaks. So yeah, special grease is needed. Don't put regular grease here. Do not put regular grease. You need to have special brake grease for brakes, and do it very lightly. You don't need almost any grease here. Just do it very lightly if you do need to. This one's pretty dirty. Look at this. Needs to be taken care of. Okay, anyway, now the front wheel. The way you take off the front wheel is, first of all, on both sides, don't have to unscrew it completely, but just loosen these up, 1 and 2 on the other side as well, right? Those ones. And then you use number 12 hex. You have 2 hex socket. They're pretty big. Number 12. I think it's yeah, they're called number 12. And essentially, yeah, you need 2 of them. The torque on this is just a bolt, right? And the actual nut is on this side, right? That's the nut. So you actually unscrew this one, right? First unscrew the little one, and then on both sides, and then unscrew this one. The torque is very high here, so it's pretty hard to do it, but it's possible, and I already did it once. Yeah, so what you need to do is you need to check the bearings here and on the other side. In my case, this one is alive. I already cleaned it a couple of months ago, but the other one had rust in it, so it's dead. Well, it's not completely dead, but it's in bad shape, so it needs to be replaced, right? I'm taking this wheel. I don't have the tools to remove the bearings at home. You need a special tool, so I will take it to the mechanic, and the mechanic will change the bearing, both bearings. I already got the bearings and new oil seals here. Okay, so yeah, check those bearings and keep an eye on them. Make sure they're smooth. There's no like wiggling kind of motion that's possible to do with them. And make sure that they are lubricated. Okay, now a word about lubrication. Even though these see that the orange seal here, the seal can be actually taken off. If you use a little screwdriver, you can actually very carefully pry them open, and you will find that underneath there's a normal bearing, regular bearing. So you put the grease in there, and then you close it. Put the seal on. That's what I did. That's fine. And then you put some grease around it, because how it works is, even though you put the grease around it, on top of the cover, the seal, some of the grease under pressure and under heat penetrates past the seal. There is a small, you can actually see here, see that dark area here? That's the grease that came out from inside of the bearing, because there was probably too much of it. Anyway, so yeah, keep in mind that grease does penetrate slowly over time through the seals, because there's little spaces there, little cracks. So yeah, so that's wheels. So keep an eye on them. At the end of every season, inspect those bearings, make sure everything's okay. Or inspect it when you change the tires. Doing any kind of brake job or tire job, you always inspect those. Make sure that there's lubrication, make sure that the bearings are alive. If the bearings are not alive, you're gonna crush. So this is a critical part. Okay, now you gotta inspect the fenders. So the fenders, make sure that they're not rusty. Also inspect the inside of the fenders. Okay, make sure there's no rust there, and if there is rust, clean it. Don't leave it, just clean it. You can use a wire brush, steel wool. You can use, first of all, clean it with like a degreaser and clean it from salt and crap. That's like road debris, stuff like that. And so mine still needs to be cleaned. That's how it looks like, right? So I will clean it with simple green, remove all that salt. See, that's salt from the road. And then I'm probably gonna actually mask it up with the masking tape and then spray some undercoating here to protect it. It won't hurt. Yeah. So yeah, take off the fenders in the winter. There's plenty of time to do this. Take them off. It's pretty easy. You unscrew these bolts, then you unscrew these bolts here, and then you take this off, and then there's a few nuts here, sorry, a few bolts here, actually I think there's 4 bolts here, and then 2 of them are here, right there. Those are short little bolts. Take them off, disconnect. There's a wire, this one here, that's for the rear light. Disconnect that wire, take off the fender, and just inspect the fender. In my case, there's some rust. I'm gonna show you in a moment. There's some rust there that I temporarily slowed down with just put some grease on it to prevent water from doing its dirty job. Yeah, inspect them and take care of them. Clean them. Don't allow salt, road salt, and just debris to stay there, or water especially, because it flash rusts, even chrome, right? So you need to take care of it. Same thing for the front fender. I'm going to take it off, clean it inside, and put some like asphalt type of let me show you what I got here. I think I have it somewhere. Hold on. Oh yeah, here. Black asphalt undercoating. So this is wonderful stuff. You take it, and it's like a spray, and you need to put several layers. So don't forget that. This stuff is pretty good. It's like a car undercoating for car, right? For car wheels, like wheel arches. This is the same stuff, right? So yeah, in terms of the chain cleaner, you probably saw I use Ipon. Really good, and it's 750 milliliters here. So it's a tall can, right? Really good stuff. It's removing grease, removing, everything from the chain. It's really effective. This is chain lube. It's like a grease. Really good too. Lasts for 700 kilometers. Really good. And it actually does. I've tested. It actually lasts for about 800 kilometers. If there's no rain. If there's rain, then you need to clean and reapply. Or just use gear oil if it's too rainy. Like during a rainy season, I use gear oil instead of all kinds of fancy chain lubes that are very expensive sometimes. Yeah, so this is it about tires and fenders. If you have any questions or suggestions, always you're welcome to leave it in the comments.